Hi folks, you're with Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the knowledge gap, if you like, or the fact gap, the information gap between what sociology college kids who are fervent supporters of mass migration, the knowledge gap between what they think is mass migration and what the reality is, and how they really don't seem to care, and how they're making no effort. They can't be bothered to find out. They're just blindly accepting what they're told and then assuming it's a moral good without the slightest concern about the facts. You know, I mean, just to illustrate the point, I've looked at a number of videos on this, and even spoken to sort of senior high school, college age type kids. But the issue here is, as a case in point, Australia took in something like 450,000 migrants, illegal and illegal, and mostly legal, by the way, but in the last 12 months. But if you ask a college kid who insists that migration, well, there should be no limits, anyone who wants to come should be able to come. Now, they say that as a sort of within a moral vacuum or a moral miasma. They've been told that, and they just repeat it. Why is it good, or how is it good? They've got no idea. Well, people should be allowed to come. It's not their fault they're poor. We're all human beings. So, but the reality is quite different when a country of 26 million people takes in 450,000 immigrants that aren't needed or wanted, who bring no skills. There's over 420,000 of that 450,000 will just be illiterate peasants that bring nothing to the table at all. So that's a burden on society, not a boon. But that's not how it's presented to them. Now, say senior high school as an example. I viewed it as incumbent on me to do further reading and further research, if you like, on subjects, not subjects I didn't give a shit about, but all ones that were straight facts. If the teacher said 1 + 1 is 2, that seems self-evident, so I wouldn't question it. But on things like history and that sort of stuff, where opinions, perceptions, and interpretations do matter, and where it is possible to synthesize the highest balance of probability on anything that happened historically. And I do generally believe that we can learn from the past and at least not make all the mistakes that those in the past did. That we can learn from the past and at least not make all the mistakes that those in the past did make. I would go on further reading and research and would sort of think about it, and then I would arrive at conclusions. Well, on the balance of probability, that doesn't really work. So if the teacher would say so, and I would go to the teacher. So look, I've done some more reading on this, and I quote historians Smith Jones and Billy Bob and whatever, and they say such and such. Coming back to what you were talking about, and sometimes the teacher would have a view. Sometimes they try and defend their position. Other times they say, that's interesting, I haven't read that. But the idea that there was only one truth didn't exist. There was highest balance of probability, lower balance of probability, pure speculation and conjecture. Though you'd go to various levels of reliability of the information. But the idea was that you would go and check. So if someone sort of says, well, mass migration is a wonderful thing because poor people should be allowed to do it. Well, why? Why should But no one's asking the questions. These students who are fighting back against the evil Nazis that are everywhere, for some reason, are very tamely accept the most ridiculous assertions that they get from, whether it's from their peers or professional agitators. And the globalists would have professional agitators at all universities, so there's certainly that. Or their lecturers and professors and so on, the things that they say. But you come to think, well, how many people came to Australia, as in migrants came to Australia last year? Oh, I don't know, 1,000, was it? 5,000, 10,000? And when you say, well, it was actually 448,000, wow, that's a lot of people. gee, I never knew it was that many. Where do they all go? Now, I don't know these students, don't they see all the brown and black people at the university when they can't not see it? Aren't they aware of the the vast sprawling ghettos of Indian only or Chinese only suburbs? Can't they see that? So you'd think that their lying eyes would at least be giving them some sort of semblance that, wow, if there's only 1,000 or 10,000 people coming in each year, then why are there so many people around who are brown and black? Why are there so many if there's only a few thousand each year coming in? That doesn't seem to compute. It's almost as if they see everything in the sort of a haze of a moral miasma, that the reality isn't there. When you say, well, 400,000 people, how are you going finding a job that pays? Well, oh, it's really hard. I can only find shit jobs that pay shit money. I went for this job, and there was a queue of 100 people to get, standing in line with 100 people to get the job, or standing in line with 100 people to rent that apartment. Well, okay, were many of them, brown or black? Oh, nearly all of them were. Okay, well, just having a look at that, do you think mass migration may have some effect on that? And then they switch back to, oh, well, they're only human beings. They've got a role. Well, sure, okay, no, we know they're human beings. We know that, but you can't find a job, or you can only find a job that pays shit money, or you can't find a place to rent, or you're paying an exorbitant rent that's so much you've barely got a penny left over at the end of the week. Why should you have to go through that when that's being forced upon you by mass migration? Well, there's nothing wrong. If they want to have a better life, that's okay. They just they're fleeing persecution. They're lesbians fleeing persecution, and they'll go straight down that sociology. So all of them are lesbians fleeing persecution? You've got to be kidding me. But they don't have any facts or any references. Same in America, the illegal migration on its own was more than 3 million people over the last 12 months into the United States. And that doesn't even include the visa overstays and the super low bar they put on legal migration if you're black or brown. So talking to students there, in universities there who are supposed to be the best and the brightest in the land, and there's one girl who says, well, only 10,000 people came in. 10,000 came in illegally over the last 12 months, and when she's told it's over 3 million, oh, well, I didn't know that. Now that's got to be, if you want to find, I'm sure the mainstream media do attempt to conceal it, but that information is easily available if you want to find it. But there's not even a question that's there. The girl, and it's mostly minorities. You ask green and blue-haired women, female university students, and you ask gay lesbians, you ask black and brown people, and they all pretty much come at the same view. Well, anyone should be allowed to come to the EU. Well, why should they be allowed? Because we've got so much. We've got so much here, so they all should be allowed. We must be forced to share what we have with the less fortunate. Well, what about that white guy, the straight white guy who's on Skid Row bum down the road? Oh, not him. No. Why would I want to share it with him? He's a fucking bum. But what about these people from the third? Well, why? So there's a very selective attitude and view on things. But what intrigued me more than anything was they had no idea of the numbers, none. And they seem to be unable to comprehend the impact it's having on their lives. How for every million of these people who come in, your standard of living is declining because they're not adding to productivity, they're just adding to overhead. These people come in. They bring no skill, other than a very small number of them. They bring no skills. They bring nothing to the table at all. No job experience. Most of them are illiterate in their own language, let alone English. And they come to a first world country, and they directly take away from your standard of living. There are fewer government services you can get in terms of medical services or public transport and these sorts of things. There are fewer services you can access, but also the purchasing power of your paycheck is declining for every one of these people that come in, unless they bring skills and capability to the table, which they don't. So isn't that a concern to you? Well, I don't know. Are you a Nazi? Are you Hitler? And so they've got no answer for this, and they don't really comprehend it. And some of them appear, on the face of it, be quite simple-minded. But the interesting thing is how they'll accept what's told to them by the college professors and teachers and so on. They accept that blindly without question. But any contradiction of that narrative, they stubbornly refuse to accept and refuse to take on board. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.